We are told a story, a doctrine whispered from the moment we are born, that pleasure is the summit of existence, the reward for our toil and suffering. But what if this story is a lie? What if the siren song of satisfaction is not a call to paradise, but a lullaby sung to keep us asleep? What if the chocolate, the climax, the endless scroll, and the hollow laughter are not treasures, but beautifully crafted cages, shadows dressed in the finery of light to mask a truth more primitive and far more aching? Permit me to ask you a question, not of the mind, but of the soul. When was the last time you felt truly whole without the immediate promise of more? Not merely content, not just momentarily amused, but profoundly, deeply, unshakably complete and touched by the gnawing phantom of craving. We are living in a gilded age of manufactured delight, yet we are starving. We have more access to pleasure than any generation in history, yet we are plagued by a spiritual famine. The great physician of the soul, Jung, foretold this paradox. He warned that the very things we flee to for comfort are often the gilded bars of our own prisons, preventing the healing we desperately seek. Today, we will dismantle this prison. We will look at pleasure in a way that may shatter your perception of it forever. Let us begin with a scene, one that may feel unnervingly familiar. The morning light filters in, before your feet touch the floor, before your mind registers the day, your hand finds its way to the cold glass of your phone. There is no urgent message, no life-altering news, no promise of genuine joy. There is only the habit, an impulse now more ingrained than hunger. A 3-second video wrenches a smile from you. You chuckle, and an instant later, the memory of it is gone, replaced by the next and the next. In this seamless, infinite cascade of digital ephemera, the hours bleed away. The day vanishes, but the ache at your core does not. You set the device down, a ghost of emptiness haunting you. You drift to the kitchen and eat something sweet, or salty, or both, chasing a sensation you cannot name. Then, the familiar shadow of guilt descends. You weren't even hungry, you just needed something. But that something was never food. It was never the fleeting spike of dopamine. It was silence. It was a reprieve from the deafening noise of your own unexamined mind. It was a pause in the storm you have never dared to give a name. This is the mechanism Jung identified with chilling clarity. He taught that each of us possesses a shadow, a hidden, disowned self where we bury our fears, our insecurities, our deepest pains, and pleasure, in its modern weaponized form, has become the most effective shovel for this burial. When you eat without hunger, scroll without curiosity, or desire without love, you are not making a choice for joy. You are choosing anesthesia. You are administering a sedative to the soul. Herein lies the painful truth we have been conditioned to ignore. The majority of what we call pleasure is not pleasure at all. It is a frantic, desperate flight from self-awareness. But the cost of this escape is astronomical. Each hit of synthetic joy, each moment of manufactured relief, carves out a deeper void within us, a void that demands a more potent distraction next time. We become tolerant to peace. We require a louder laugh, a sweeter taste, a more shocking image, just to feel a flicker of what once came freely. When the fix fails, we believe we are broken. We are not broken. We are merely unaware. Unaware that the architecture of our age is designed to harvest our attention by exploiting this very mechanism. Unaware that we have been masterfully conditioned to mistake the balm for the wound, the symptom for the cure. Let us go deeper, back to the source code of your conditioning. You are 6 years old. You fall and scrape your knee. The pain is sharp, real, you cry, a pure expression of your feeling. But an adult, perhaps meaning well, says she, "Don't cry. Here, have a cookie." Or, "Stop that noise, look, the television is on." In that moment, a neural pathway is forged. A silent pact is signed in the language of the body. Feeling is a problem. Pain is to be silenced. Pleasure is the solution. You carry this unconscious contract into adulthood. Your pain becomes unspoken, but your pleasures become loud. Louder than your loneliness. Louder than your anxiety, louder than the frightened child still hiding within you who never wanted a cookie, but simply wanted to be seen and held in their pain. And here is the devastating consequence most people never realize. Pleasure develops a memory. Every time you use it as an anesthetic for pain, you are training your nervous system to fear stillness. Silence is no longer a sanctuary. It becomes an accusation. The absence of stimulation feels like a punishment, a confrontation with the very emptiness you've been running from. This is why you cannot sit alone in a quiet room, why you need a podcast in the shower, why the space between conversations feels like a terrifying void. Jung saw this not as a moral failing, but as a spiritual sickness. Pleasure itself is not the enemy. It is a sacred, vital part of the human experience. The enemy is the avoidance it enables, the profound self-betrayal it masks. The real tragedy is not that we seek pleasure, but that we have forgotten its true purpose. Imagine a man dying of thirst in a vast desert, chasing one shimmering mirage after another. Each time he sprints toward the promise of water, it dissolves into heat and sand. Yet, he does not stop. He convinces himself the next one will be real. This is the nature of pleasure when it is untethered from purpose. The irony is that real pleasure, the kind that truly nourishes the soul, is almost always quiet. It does not scream for your attention. It does not distract, numb, or erase. It expands you. It is found in the vulnerable depths of a conversation where you feel truly heard. It is in the quiet pride of finishing something you were afraid to start. It is in the clean, solid feeling of waking up and realizing you no longer need the thing that once held you captive. We do not crave this kind of pleasure because it is not easy. It demands our presence, our courage, our patience. And yet it is the only kind that can ever quench our thirst. As Jung wrote, people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul. And the endless pursuit of hollow pleasure is the most beautiful, socially acceptable, and absurd avoidance strategy humanity has ever invented. Jung saw this not as a moral failing, but as a spiritual sickness. Pleasure itself is not the enemy. It is a sacred, vital part of the human experience when chosen with intention. The true enemy is the avoidance it enables, the profound and silent self-betrayal it serves to mask. The real tragedy is not that we seek pleasure, but that we have systematically forgotten its true purpose, trading the nourishing meal for the empty sweetness of candy. Imagine a man dying of thirst in a vast desert. In the distance, he sees a shimmering oasis, lush and life-giving. He summons his remaining strength and sprints towards it, his heart pounding with desperate hope. But as he arrives, the vision dissolves into shimmering heat and barren sand. It was a mirage. Undeterred, he scans the horizon and sees another, even more convincing illusion, tells himself that one is real, and begins to run again. Locked in a cycle of exhausting hope and crushing disappointment. This is the very nature of pleasure when it is untethered from purpose. It is a promise that never delivers, a thirst that is never quenched, draining us of the very energy we would need to find a real source of water. The irony is that real pleasure, the kind that truly nourishes the soul, is almost always quiet. It does not scream for your attention with bright lights and loud noises. It does not distract, numb, or erase. It expands you. It is found in the vulnerable depths of a conversation where you feel truly heard and seen. It is in the quiet pride of finishing something you were afraid to start. It is in the clean, solid feeling of waking up and realizing you no longer need the thing that once held you captive. We do not crave this kind of pleasure because it is not easy. It demands our presence, our courage, and our patience, the very qualities we are trying to escape. And yet, it is the only kind that can ever quench our thirst. As Jung wrote, people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul. In the endless pursuit of hollow pleasure is the most beautiful, socially acceptable, and absurd avoidance strategy humanity has ever invented. Think of the guilt that follows an indulgence, that feeling after one more episode, one more drink, one more purchase you didn't need. That is not your conscience shaming you for being bad. That is the whisper of your authentic self, the echo of your soul telling you, that was not it. I was not fed. You avoided me again. This guilt is not a signal of your weakness. It is a compass pointing toward your truth, a loyal friend trying to guide you home. This is the core of what Jungian shadow work truly means. It is not about becoming dark or edgy. It is about having the raw courage to look at the moments you trade your presence for relief, to witness the quiet ways you betray yourself for a moment of comfort, and to finally say, I see this pattern, I see this escape. And today, I choose truth over anesthesia. This self-confrontation is an act of profound rebellion. It is a rebellion against a culture that sells you your own escape and then profits from the emptiness it leaves behind. To make this real, let us tell one more story. The story of a woman who chased relationships, a whirlwind of intensity, obsession, and inevitable collapse. She told herself she was a hopeless romantic, addicted to love. But the truth was, she was addicted to the distraction. The intensity of a new person, the drama of their discovery, allowed her to bypass the terrifying silence of her own company, where her unhealed wounds resided. When she was alone, the silence wasn't empty. It was full of everything she was running from. Her story is not rare, and this pattern is not confined to romance. It wears countless masks. Consider the productivity addict, the person who worships at the altar of busyness. Their pleasure is the crossed-off item on a to-do list, the full calendar, the feeling of being indispensable. They run from one task to the next, driven by a manufactured urgency. But what are they running from? They are running from the soul-crushing fear that if they were to stop, to be still, they would discover they have no inherent value. Their sense of worth is tied completely to their output. The pleasure of accomplishment is an anesthetic for the deep-seated terror of being worthless. These are the hidden narratives of millions who confuse the ache of longing with love, the scroll with connection, busyness with purpose, and the act of numbing with the act of healing. The danger, you see, is not that these fleeting pleasures exist. The danger is that we may go our entire lives without ever questioning why we need them so desperately. We must destroy the myth that pleasure is a destination. It is not healing, it is not peace, it is not power, it is a tool. And like any tool, when misused, it becomes a weapon against the self. Now let us flip this entirely. Think of the last time you consciously delayed gratification. You felt the pull of the craving, the urge to click, the impulse to speak, and you chose to wait. You sat with the discomfort, allowing it to be there without reacting. What did you feel later? A sense of pride, a quiet strength, a feeling of peace. That feeling is not just discipline, it is self-trust. And self-trust is the most profound high there is, a steady, internal warmth that no external thrill can replicate. When you trust yourself, pleasure no longer has power over you. It is no longer your master. You become its curator, choosing it freely, intentionally, and fully. This is when pleasure is reborn, not as a drug or a chain, but as a genuine celebration of being alive. Imagine walking into a room. There is no noise, no screen, just you. And instead of the familiar creep of panic, you feel a sense of home. Not because you have everything you want, but because you are finally willing to be with everything you are. This is what Jung called individuation, the process of becoming whole. Not by grinding or by denial, but by integration. The ability to feel pleasure without using it as a bandage. The ability to enjoy silence without fearing it as an enemy. The ability to be with yourself and to like the company you keep. This transformation will not go unnoticed, but it may be misunderstood. To a world addicted to noise, your newfound peace may look like passivity. To those who run on the fuel of external validation, your self-reliance may seem like arrogance. You might ask why you don't go out as much, why you're quiet in group settings, why you are no longer hooked by the same gossip or drama. They will not understand that you are not avoiding life, but engaging with it on a deeper level. You have simply stopped participating in the collective anesthesia. In a society of ghosts chasing phantom pleasures, you become one of the few solid, present beings. And that presence can be unsettling to those who are not ready to face their own. You do not get there by chasing an endless series of louder, brighter, faster highs. You get there by systematically lowering the volume of your distractions and daring to listen to what they were hired to drown out. At first, it is uncomfortable. The silence will feel deafening. The urge to reach for a distraction will feel like an unbearable itch. This is the withdrawal. But if you can sit through it, if you can breathe through the discomfort and simply observe it, something miraculous happens. The itch subsides. The inner storm quiets down. You begin to notice that the silence is not empty. It is spacious. It is in this space you begin to hear your own true voice. It looks like noticing the automatic reach for your phone and asking, what am I trying to avoid right now? It looks like allowing the pang of loneliness to exist without immediately patching it with sugar, sex, or social media. It looks like choosing the slower, deeper pleasure that comes with effort, presence, and earned reward. The greatest pleasures are not instant. They are cultivated. The most satisfying meal is eaten after a long day of meaningful work. The deepest laughter is shared with someone you have built trust with over years. The most profound connection is forged in a conversation where you allowed yourself to be seen, not just swiped. If this message has shaken something loose within you, good. That is the feeling of awakening. It is not a thunderclap. It is a quiet, decisive shift in perception. The decision is simple. Will I continue to sedate the ache with the easy and immediate? Or will I finally have the courage to meet myself fully and bravely, without the need for anesthesia? Jung believed that our deepest neuroses are not caused by our traumas, but by our lifelong refusal to experience the pain that trauma left behind. Non-checked pleasure is the bodyguard that ensures we never have to. But now you see the bodyguard. You see the door it's guarding, and you hold the key. So the next time the craving hits, pause. Do not fight it. Do not shame it. Simply ask it, with genuine curiosity, what is it that I truly need right now? That single question holds the power to dismantle a lifetime of conditioning. It breaks the loop. It hands the pen back to you. It reminds you that you are not your hunger. You are the one who chooses how and if you will be fed. You will never look at pleasure the same way again. Not because it is evil, but because you now see its dual nature with perfect clarity. You will still laugh, love, and enjoy the sweetness of life, but you will do so with a newfound awareness. That awareness will be your shield, protecting you from the seductive bargain of trading your lasting peace for temporary comfort. It will make your joy sacred, your relationships clean, your habits intentional, and your silence golden. It is a deep, resilient presence, the capacity to hold both your joy and your sorrow without being shattered by either. It is the end of the civil war within. For the ultimate pleasure, the one that silences all others, is not found in the chase. It is the profound, earth-shattering peace of no longer needing to run,